Hey guys, welcome to another live show, another live She Knows Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel, getting into the chat, letting me know what you guys are thinking and feeling. Happy Thursday. It has been a wild couple of days for Arsenal. I feel like a couple of weeks, actually, the injuries, the Spurs, then Atalanta, then City, now Bolton. So it's been a wild couple of weeks. And now we're getting into a period where I think we're feeling maybe a little bit more like, whew, relax. We're going to go into a decent run of fixtures. And when I say decent, I mean games that we're expected to do well in, where we could probably carry some of these injuries. We'll talk about Raya and Jury and Timber and White, and how Arteta can utilize the squad in this period to get the most out of it. Make sure you guys are smashing the likes and all that kind of stuff. And also get into the chat and stuff, so I can know who's all in here. But I do have an announcement for this stream. I told you guys that I was going to announce something very cool, especially for you guys that are based in the UK and Ireland. You guys will be able to participate in this. For those of you guys who are not, I'm so sorry. But this is mostly for the UK audience. And if you want to go to Arsenal football matches, then you will want to listen up. So, but on today's stream, we're going to do a little bit of a Leicester preview. We're going to kind of talk about just another recap on what happened against Bolton, because I did speak quite quickly on that one, just because I had work. And so I did want to delve a little bit deeper. I rewatched the game when I got home last night. So we can talk about that a little bit more. If you guys want to touch on the Man City thing again, we can. For those of you guys who missed my 10-minute rant on it yesterday. And then, I will announce the giveaway. World Boss says, desperate to watch a game. Come on, you Gunners. Sisanke says, hello, Arsenal family. And Shamaria says, hey, just hello to you as well. Let me just let everybody know we're live on Twitter real quick, just because I don't want people to miss the thing. I'm seeing stuff about Man City winning their case or having victory, and if they did win their case against the Premier League, I wouldn't be surprised at all. They're never going to hold them responsible. Let's be honest. Okay. And I'll talk about this several times throughout the stream, so it's not like I'm only going to say it once. But for those of you guys who are based in the UK as well as Ireland, you guys will be happy to know that I am working with Comavi. Comavi is basically an e-commerce site for football fans, and their goal is to unite fans across the world with their e-commerce website. And I'm super excited to be working with them because I get to help you guys get to football matches, help you guys get merch, things like that. We're going to be doing loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of giveaways throughout the season. And so hopefully this will benefit you guys, but also will bring you closer to a brand that I think is really cool, because sometimes you just want to connect to your football team. You want to get the merch, you want to get the plus, the perks and all that kind of stuff, and you don't really know where to go for it. You don't even know how to go about, being a part of those opportunities. Coma V is going to make that easier for football fans. So it's a cool partnership um, that I get to be a part of, and hopefully you guys will love it as well. So let me just show you guys really quick how you are going to be a part of this giveaway. So as I told you guys, I'm going to be giving away 2 tickets to Arsenal versus Leicester this Saturday at 3 p.m., which is the time the game is at. The tickets are courtesy of Coma V, so thank you so much, Coma V, for providing the tickets. Now, again, like I said, the rules are it's only open to residents of the United Kingdom and Ireland, and the participants also have to be 18 years of age and older to enter. So keep that in mind. But you will be getting 2 tickets, and it's very simple to enter. All you have to do is follow Jessica Black TV and She Knows Arsenal on X or Twitter. Follow Coma V Official on Twitter as well, and repost this tweet. Now, all of this information is in the description box. So literally you can go to the description box of this video, and there is a link there for this particular tweet. So if you want to, it's easy to find. And then all you have to do is just follow those 3 accounts and repost that tweet, and you will be then entered for the giveaway. Now, the giveaway will close at 8 a.m. British Standard Time, tomorrow, September 27th, and a winner will be drawn shortly after. The reason why this is so quick is mostly just because, we just came to the partnership, and the partnership was also just announced with Arsenal earlier today. So as you can see here, you guys, I'm trying to announce this giveaway. They were so quiet, and then as soon as they heard me talking, they were like, "Oh, let me get loud." So you guys can see here, it's actually pinned to Coma V's Twitter account that Arsenal and Coma V are working together. It's the official e-commerce marketplace partner. And so if you go to Arsenal's page, you will also see that they announced the partnership today. So for those of you guys who are on my Twitter page and were like, is this real? Yes, it is real. I am working with them. I will be able to give you guys tickets through giveaways. So make sure you guys are getting involved. Beckham, please. Beckham. I can't deal. They were so quiet 2 seconds ago. So yeah, this is the tweet. It is pinned to Jessica Black TV, or at Jessica Black TV on X. Also, just follow She Knows Arsenal and follow Coma V, and you will be entered into the giveaway, and we will announce the winners tomorrow. So make sure you guys do that, so you guys are involved. Let's see, we'll stop screen share. So yeah, make sure you guys get involved. Let's see. Shamaria says same was always going to happen. I think you're talking about the Manchester City thing. Aha says the Premier League cares about their brand. And Georgie One Foot LCFC says Just Fan TV, defend for your lives and pray will be Leicester's tactics at the weekend, Steve Cooper style. Listen, it's I expect Leicester to play decent. I think, Leicester are not horrendous, from what I've seen so far. And Vardy is definitely if I was a betting girl, which I'm not, but if I was a betting girl, I'd put a little bit of money on Vardy scoring, because I think he scored against us a lot in his Leicester career. So would not be surprised, but it should be a relatively straightforward, it should be a relatively straightforward game for Arsenal, but you just never really know, with the league and the way the refs are and stuff like that. You just never really know. But if we take care of business, it should be pretty straightforward. I also want to take a minute just to laugh really quickly at Manchester United for drawing to Twente yesterday. I enjoyed the meltdowns from that yesterday. So thank you so much, Manchester United, for taking one for the team yesterday, because the endorphins of our game mixed with that just brought together like everything I needed in my heart. So yes. So yeah, Victor says it should be unless the refs decide it's their time to shine. Exactly. And I talked about this the other day, like whether or not Arsenal should bend and start to change the way that they play and the way that they operate to kind of like modify the way that they play so that we don't get in trouble. I just feel like that's a really dangerous way of operating. If we start to not do what we do on corners, if we start doing, changing, they'll think that they have us. And I think the most important thing is to persevere and win despite the Premier League. You know what I mean? Like, I think if they know that no matter what they do, we'll still win, I think it'll stop. But I feel like it'll continue on if they feel like we'll stop doing the things that we do for them, So, yeah. In regards to the really quickly before we get into the Leicester preview, I just want to show you guys this too. That I know a lot of you guys don't care about the Karabuki, right? It's a small cup. It's an energy drink cup. It's not something that people take seriously. But you guys know, if you've been on this channel for a while, you guys know that I don't care what trophy it is. I want Arsenal involved. I want Arsenal to go as far as they possibly can. And I think our record in domestic competitions as of lately has been quite poor and almost laughable at times. We spoke about it yesterday. Oxford United, Nottingham Forest, games like that in domestic competitions where we should be winning, but we just go, we either struggle and barely get it over the line, or, we go out. And so I think it's important to, as much as we want to get out of these competitions because we have bigger fish to fry. Manchester City statistically are, I wouldn't say guaranteed to win the Premier League, but it's not really that likely that we'll win it. And I know that some people are like, you can't say that, but I feel like the best team over a 38 game period will win the Premier League. All the luck that you get and the unlucky moments that you get even itself out, and ultimately the best team wins 99.9999999% of the time. Leicester is probably one of the only times that we'll see where the best team or the most talented team, whatever you want to call it, doesn't win. And so in my mind, Manchester City are still the best team. And I don't really think that that should be any sort of like, it's not bad to say, that they're still better than us. And so the likelihood of us winning the Premier League is quite small. And so the reason why, like, I feel like going deeper in domestic cups and the Champions League is important is because you don't have to be the best team in the competition to win. You don't. And Manchester City can't win all four. Well, they usually don't win all four. So there's a good chance that if Arsenal play well in the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup, that we can go into the latter stages. And, even if you meet up to a Liverpool or, a more difficult team later on, you have a better chance then, you know what I mean, of getting a trophy. So, yeah, I think we really should, focus on domestic competitions, not necessarily meaning we have to play our best 11 against Preston, in the next round, but we definitely should do what we did yesterday, which is make it almost a formality and not piss around. So the round 4 draw actually went really well, like in our favor. Brentford play Sheffield, Southampton play Stoke, Tottenham play Manchester City. So you have two big opponents going up against each other, which means there will be a big team will be going out. Wimbledon or Newcastle against Chelsea, most likely Newcastle. So one of Chelsea or Newcastle will also be out. Manchester United versus Leicester City. Who knows what'll happen there? Manchester United usually in cup competitions do get it over the line though. Brighton versus Liverpool is another big one. And then it's us and Preston versus Preston. We go away, and Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace. You expect Aston Villa to get that done. So I think the name of the game is just stay in it for as long as possible. Stay in it for as long as possible. And you just never know. You get a little bit of luck. You get a luck in the draw. Other teams are focusing on other competitions. They're not at their best on the day, and you can, kind of get your way to the final. Feel very similarly about Champions League and the FA Cup. We just never really stay in long enough to get the luck. We always shit our pants early, and then boom, we're out, So yeah, this is not the most important thing, but it's definitely something that we should not be turning our nose up to. And I've been very vocal about saying that this particular team under Mikel Arteta needs to start winning silverware no matter what it is. They need to know what it feels like to win a trophy, whether it's the Carabao or the FA Cup. And it's not the same as it was when we were winning FA Cups under Arsene Wenger because we were not challenging. So that logic and that narrative it doesn't pass the test. It's fraudulent when people are like, well, what is an FA Cup going to do? We did that before. We were winning FA Cups and nothing else. We weren't even remotely near a title conversation in those years. So winning, challenging and winning an FA Cup is totally different than winning an FA Cup and being in a top 4 scrap. So, winning trophies is important. Domestic cups, we should try to go as far as we possibly can. Players are going to get injured no matter what. We don't have all this like, oh, well, you can't play this. You have to get out of this competition early because if we don't, then we'll get injured. Players can get injured in training, so let's just try to actually win a trophy and see how that goes. For those of you guys who are just joining, I did already kind of talk about the giveaway, but I will talk about it in a second as well. Don't worry, I will give you guys the information for it if you guys are interested in winning 2 tickets to the Leicester City game for Saturday. Amina says, do we actually have the quality team to tackle all these cup competitions? Listen, I think it's weird because I don't think we need to world-class 11s to compete better than what we have in the past. Even based on our squad, we were very much so underperforming in cups in the last 3 seasons, so I think even if we don't have hold on, you guys, my dogs are doing stupid shit. Go outside and play. Okay. Sorry. But I feel like when you think about the fact that we were underperforming, if we could even get to what we can do, even if that doesn't mean that we win it, but at least we get to Wembley for, you know what I mean? I feel like that's just better than what we have been doing. We've been embarrassing so far. It's not like we're getting close to finals or semifinals. We're going out in early stages and sad, so no. Do we have the same level of squad that City has? No, but is our squad, I think there's probably only 2 or 3 squads that I think have more depth than we do, and now that we have players like Miles Lewis-Skelly that we can look at, players like Nwaneri, you have to look at that as a boost to the squad. So yeah, I think nobody really has the same level of squad as Manchester City, but that doesn't stop them from going further in competitions than we do. So I think it's all about, let's try to win something this season. I don't think we can go trophyless again. Victor says, yeah, Pep has only lost leagues to Jose, Klopp, and Conte. This was his first season in the Premier League, so we have to try our best with the cups. And, people don't like when I bring that up, because I do bring it up quite often when people are like, well, Rodri's out, so that means we got to win, or it's like an inevitable that we should just run right through City. Pep has only lost 3 times, and you look at some of those managers and you have to say those are superior managers and maybe in some cases even superior sides than what we have. So the likelihood of us beating them to the title is small. It doesn't mean that it cannot happen. It's just unlikely, especially because in the summer, we didn't really do that much to bridge the gap between us and them, in my opinion, in the positions that really would do that for us. So, I think if you challenge again and then you win an FA Cup or a Carabao and then maybe you go to the semifinals of the Champions League or, whatever, I think you can accept that a lot more than going outside in every domestic competition, going outside against Bayern, in the Champions League and then kind of like barely, kind of challenging just a little bit. I think you can stomach that a little bit more. I think the lack of trophies is making it more difficult to be in these title races because, yeah, so yeah, Brian says, thank you so much for your super chat. Says teams are mad that we are good at corners, but we built a team of big players that excel at it. They didn't see as much value in it as we did. And, I think with Arsenal, if we're good at anything, they think, well, they have to be cheating. They have to be doing something that's illegal. And one thing that we hear constantly from players over and over again when they speak about Mikel is that he's hyper focused on the details. And I think he's always looking for marginal gains in the game. And if that was any other manager, if that was Fat Ange or, Maresca's bald fucking head or any of those managers that were doing that, they would be lauding them and saying, oh my gosh, look how clever this manager is using those marginal gains to get him closer to where he wants to be. But when it's Arsenal, lock him up. Lock him up. He's cheating. Oh my gosh, the dastardly deeds. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe this guy. He's just doing all this. Oh my God, he's the rules, the rules, the rules. So I think Arteta uses everything to his advantage, whether that's having, his players relay messages to their teammates because he can't get outside the technical area, whether that's utilizing a throw-in coach so that we get marginal gains on. I mean, how many goals have we scored straight from throw-ins? Using corners are almost like penalty kicks for us now. So he's usually using those marginal things that are within the rules and have always been within the rules to give us those marginal gains. And instead of him being praised for it, he's being villainized for it because Arsenal can only be good if they're cheating. That is kind of what the messaging is from the media. And it's pathetic because anytime that teams do use these same things, these same tactics against us, we were just soft pussies, So yeah, they can hold that as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, Nico says, I'm sorry, but I'm not accepting that when City have Rodri missing all year. Even without, listen, as much as people are like, well, accepting what? Accepting that City are still a better side than us, even with Rodri out? I don't know how real do I need to get here? It's like Rodri being out doesn't mean that they're just going to naturally stop winning games. They went to Chelsea and won without Rodri. Rodri has played like what, 1 or 2 games this season and they've been just fine. So the idea that they're just not going to win any games from here on out, I don't know. Does Rodri mean that our teams are the same now? Like Rodri out? I don't think it does. So yeah, I think if you think that Rodri being out means that they're not going to be able to win games pretty easily still, I don't know what to tell you. But we're also have to take into consideration that we will be missing key players from our side in this season too. So how does that even things out? We're missing Odegaard, they're missing Rodri. If they're missing Rodri the whole season, what if Saka goes down? What if one of our defenders goes down? So yeah, the Rodri thing doesn't really make sense to me. It's something that rivals are using to be like, you must win, you must win. But I think the logical way of thinking about it is, does Rodri being out mean that we're better than them? If it doesn't, then what do you mean? Victor says, and these narratives translate onto the field when teams complain to PGMOL about us, the media are calling us cheats. The referees will be putting a microscope on every action we make. Exactly. And they know what they're doing. This is not the first season that they've done it. We knew even this is actually last season was probably the first season that we've had in a long time where the narrative around Arsenal wasn't their ill discipline, because I think we got maybe 2 red cards the whole season. I think Fabio Vieira against Burnley and Tamiyasu against Crystal Palace were the only red cards that we got all season. And so we weren't the poster child for ill discipline. Mind you, Chelsea, I think, got the most red cards, and they were not plastered about as they just can't calm themselves down. They're just so out of control. But that was last season was probably the first season that we didn't have that narrative. They're trying to bring that back as they like it. I heard in the commentary when we were playing against Bolton that the commentators were saying that discipline has been an issue for Arsenal this season. And I just laughed. I was like, if you actually think that we've been ill disciplined this at the beginning of the season, you're a fucking idiot. It's not that. It's that they're starting to change the rules around time wasting just based on Arsenal. And the rules have only changed for Arsenal. The rules are been the same for every other team, where they get a little talking to or it's ignored or whatever. But for Arsenal, anytime that we kick the ball away, it's a yellow. That's not a rule for anyone else, So, I think that they want us to go back to that. And the narrative outside of the game usually trickles and becomes solidified on the pitch from the referees. And so I do expect them to continue to send us off. But like I said, I think the best thing that we could possibly do is continue to play our game and continue to win. Because if we win things and we win games, even with them changing the rules on us and putting us under a microscope, I think it'll stop. Boy says, if Arteta only wins a Carabao, do we call it progress? I think based on last season, I mean, it all depends. I think if we were to win the Carabao Cup, I know what Arsenal fans would do. They would act like it's an important trophy because that's how everybody acts, but it still is a trophy. It's better than the Community Shield, so I think, getting a Carabao Cup and coming second is better than being empty-handed. Is it progress? I think it's progress for the players, because they've never really won anything. But I don't know, because we could have won a domestic cup. We could have been winning domestic cups. So I'm not sure about progress, but it does make it easier to stomach not winning the league, if that makes sense. And that's kind of the angle that I'm coming at it from. Is it progress? I don't know. Shamaria says they won't just lose games, but across the season, they'll drop points because of his absence. We should capitalize on that. I mean, we should capitalize on it, but I don't know. It just, let's see how they actually play. We'll see how they actually play without him. I think people are making a huge, these huge proclamations of that means that they're going to, how far down are they going to drop down? What is the gap between the two teams now? So, and if we're missing players, how is that going to hurt our ability to take advantage of them missing a player? So I'm thinking about it from that perspective. Ilmatic says Roy Keane and Arsenal were just booting it like a small team with a small mentality. Listen, Manchester United legends, trying to stick the boot in on Arsenal is nothing new. Scholes was the one that was on his, this is a 50-year-old man, a toe-sucking 50-year-old man that was on his Instagram stories during the Euros, going in on Saka and Declan Rice like a little child, which I just thought was just like so weird. The way that Rio and Scholes and Roy Keane and Neville make their whole personality hating Arsenal as a pundit is just so weird, especially when look at where their club is. Like, it's an 11th. How about you face front, But yeah, I think down to 10. Here's the thing. There's a lot of people that are saying that we bunkered in and they don't take into consideration that we were down a man. But the 5 minutes before we went down to 10 men, we had 60% possession. And if you think about even the Community Shield and the way that we played against Manchester City in that game, we let them have a lot of the possession in those first 20 to 30 minutes. And then we started to impose ourselves on the game a little bit more at the back end of the first half and then at the beginning of the second half. And so it has not been the case outside of this particular match where we were down to 10 men, where we bunkered in against City. We've either been too adventurous or we've went bar for bar. They have a little bit of possession. We have a little bit of possession. They're always going to have more than us, but it would have never been as much as it was had we had not been down to 10 men. So this whole narrative of like City is the one place away from home where I would expect us to do what we did. When we were at home against Brighton, I felt like that was different. I did feel like when you're at home, you should try to keep the ball a little bit more, even if you're down a man. People are saying, well, it's Brighton, it's Brighton. I don't give a fuck about Brighton. Brighton or not City. City is a completely different beast, you know? And so, yeah, I think they're trying to paint a narrative that we're not a very good side, you know, and we know we're a good side. Are we better than City? Probably not. But the idea that going there and sitting in and using what we do best, which is defending, to make sure that we get something out of that game after going down to 10 men, to villainize that in any sort of way, I feel like is just like disingenuous to the whole conversation, you know? And Goni says, I like the way you represent Arsenal with your thoughtful analysis, Jess. How come you are no longer on the terrace, AFTV, etc.? I just don't have time. I just don't have time to do anything extra. I'm struggling with my own channel as it is. You know, I am disheveled. I'm underwater. I mean, I add, you know, my dog to that, but I am just between, you know, going to Orange County games and managing their socials to, you know, doing content for La Liga and the NWSL to try to find more freelance work to also having this channel. It's already a lot. And so I don't necessarily have that much time to go on other people's channels because I am like, I'm underwater at right now. So yeah, I go on every once in a while if I can to AFTV if they need me. But for the most part, I'm barely surviving as it is. Saida says, I have seen the next few games before I can conclude whether or not Rodri injury is a massive advantage for us. Yeah, I think there's just a lot of looking at things on paper and not necessarily thinking about it from a holistic standpoint. Every time we lose a key player, our level drops. I mean, right now, you know, take away the Bolton game, we can barely pass the ball to each other, you know, whether it's City or, you know, well, we could barely control games at this stage, you know, whether Odegaard is here or not. So I'm just wondering whether the Rodri thing is just like people were, oh, they lost Gundogan. That means that this was like last season. Oh, they lost Gundogan. So that means we've closed the gap. We're just as good as them. We're right there. No, we weren't. And you think about like City right now, they actually go far in almost every competition and win multiple trophies a season. We are not doing that, and they're doing that. You know, they're a couple of steps ahead of us. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans think we're on the similar level, and we're getting close, but we're not. You know, so take into consideration where we're at, where against Aston Villa, against Spurs, we couldn't pass the ball to each other. You know, wasn't the best game against Wolves on the first game of the season. Come on, you know, I think we need to be realistic. So yeah. Boy says it's not a narrative. The refs are just fuckboys who still feel some type of way about the Invincibles. Jagoon says, I'm sorry, we can't do that. That is still failure. I mean, we can do that. I would rather I don't know what you mean, but I don't know what you mean, but I would if you offered me what we did last season or win a domestic cup. And I'm not just saying, I think people are like also focusing only on the Carabao Cup. I'm also saying the FA Cup. If you win a domestic cup, you go further than you did last season in the Champions League, a competition that we're not expected to win. and you can't beat City, a team that's definitely still better than us. I would much prefer that to what we've been doing. And so, failure, the failure really, what could we, I guess my question would be, we didn't do enough in the summer, but what could we have done to ensure that we were the better team over 38 games against City to win the title? I guess that's my question to people that are feeling like if we don't win the league, then it's a failure. The project is done. Arteta must go. It's the end of the road. What could we have done in the summer window, realistically, that would have made us a better team than City? Because from my perspective, again, over a 38 game period, the best team is going to win. A 38 game period is long enough for everything to even itself out. All the luck that you're getting and the unlucky moments even themselves out over a 38 game period. And 99.99999% of the time, the best team wins. The team that's better, not not the better defensive side, not the better team, and right now we probably have a better defense than City, but everything else is not near their level. It's just not, so um I'm having a hard time understanding why the Premier League and not winning it is some sort of like, oh no, City are far and clear the best team in the league. So, and we not only did we not do enough in the window to get us closer to them, but I'm not sure there was anything that we could have done realistically to make sure that we were better than them. That, do you see what I'm saying? But that's just me. So yeah, I'm taking that domestic cup and another challenge because I'm trying to understand, like, what could we have done? What could we have done? Are we better than City? Over a 38 game period, do you actually think that we will be better than City? Because having a better defense is not good enough. They have a good enough defense and a good enough attack. That's what I'm trying to ask. Shamaria says we just need to hope they drop a lot of points. Exactly. Like, we're asking for things from City that we know are not going to happen. Like, we know every year everybody's saying that they're weaker, they're not as good, and then they just end up steamrolling everything. They don't have a fit KDB right now. They haven't even played Rodri barely this season, and they were still far and clear the best team. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I'm not saying that we should just like fold up and die. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, realistically, if you've watched the Premier League for years, the best team usually wins. So, yeah. Amina says last season we waited for City to drop points just for us to lose against Aston Villa. And I just always envision us losing more games than they do. Mostly because if we have an off day and they have an off day, they have a robot to paper over the cracks and we don't. And this is why bringing in an attacker probably would have helped us a little bit more. Sterling looked great against Bolton, don't get me wrong. But when I say an attacker, you guys know what I mean, a clinical striker. Yeah. So there's still going to be those games where they can kind of play not to the best of their ability, and Holland will paper over the cracks for them. Or one of their players will do something, or the referees also help them quite a bit. We don't have that, so yeah, I'm just trying to be realistic that I really want to see us go further in the cups because I feel like that's our best opportunity. That's basically what I'm saying. I want to see us go further in the cups because I think that's our best opportunity of silverware. I actually think the Premier League is the hardest for us because you have to be the best team and we're not, and you don't have to be the best team in cups. Omatic says Oscar Bob to be back in December. He may have a breakout season this year. Shamaria says Holland is a madman. Eugene says the team is okay. Let's support the current players in Arteta. I am supporting them. I just don't know if we're going to win the league. Don't think we are. Jordan Hill says City don't make silly mistakes at key points of the season. They're more consistent. And Broper says no, Rodri is like our best bit of optimism. Yeah, and like let's see. Things can change. let's, if we get past 10 games and they're dropping more points than we've ever seen them drop before because of no Rodri, then maybe I'll buy into this a little bit more. But I just don't feel, but you guys also know I've come into the season feeling like we just haven't done enough. And so is an Rodri injury going to make them so poor that whatever we didn't do like is going to disappear? I don't think so. So yeah. But yeah, so there's more of you guys in here now, which is great. So now I can announce the giveaway again. And I know for those of you guys who already know about this, you're probably like, I don't want to hear about this again, but you're gonna hear about it again because guys, it's a giveaway for the Leicester game this weekend. 2 free tickets, and it's very, very easy to enter. All you have to do, I will show my screen again. Excuse me. Let's see. So why am I glitching right now? You guys see? Okay. So here are the rules. The giveaway, you win 2 tickets to Arsenal versus Leicester City this Saturday, the 28th at 3 p.m. That's the time of the game. The tickets are courtesy of Comavi Official. They are the official e-commerce partner for Arsenal now. And so I don't know if you guys saw the announcement, but if you actually go onto Arsenal's Twitter page or X page, you guys can see that Comavi and Arsenal are now in partnership. And I'm also partnering with Comavi as an Arsenal influencer to help you guys get closer to your club and through free tickets and merch and things like that through giveaways. So this is great for you guys. Finally get to give back to you guys, especially those of you guys who are in the UK and Ireland. Unfortunately, for those of you guys who are not, you are not eligible for this. And you also have to be 18 years and older. But this is a really good opportunity for you guys. And we're going to do more of these. This one is very short notice because the partnership was just announced today. So there's a short runway for this one. But I'm going to try to do a giveaway at least once a month so that you guys can have an opportunity to go to games and get more merch and signed merchandise and memorabilia and stuff like that, because that's cool, right? So all you have to do to enter is follow Jessica Black TV and at She Knows Arsenal on X, which you guys should already be doing. But if you're not, go ahead and do that. And then you also follow Comavi Official on X and then repost this tweet. All of this information is in the description box, and there is a link to this tweet in the description box. So if you're like, how do I find it? Just click that link and it'll show you all of this information. Once again, everything is tagged. And then all you have to do is repost it and follow those 3 accounts. And the giveaway will close at 8 a.m. BST tomorrow. And the winner will be drawn shortly after. So yes, this is short notice, but if you guys are in the area and you're like, yeah, I want to go to an Arsenal game, I want to go to the Leicester match this weekend, then make sure that you do these things so that you can be entered into the giveaway and hopefully you win. So good luck to everybody that participates, and I hope you win because, yeah, I love going to Arsenal games. Every time I see people at the Emirates, I'm just like, God, I'm just so jealous, So this is your opportunity as well. And like I said, this won't be the last one, but we're going to try to do a giveaway a month. I feel like that would be so cool for you guys. And yeah, I want to see you guys win, no matter what. All right. So back. Let me drink a little bit of this. So I'm like a full-on like fall nerd. I love the fall. I love cozy. I love blankets and fires and watching Thanksgiving stuff. I know you guys don't care about Thanksgiving because like obvi, but I just love it so much. And I got this coffee that's like smoked. What is it? Smoked caramel something something. And I have to say, I'm really disappointed in it. It's not very good, but it's all I have left. So that's what I'm drinking now. I need to go to the store and get a different flavor because that's just not hitting the way it needs to. Not like you guys care. Anyways, so that's the draw. We went through the draw. So who's available and who's not for Leicester? Arteta says that he doesn't know whether or not Raya is going to be available. And so that means that Neto, I guess, would play, which, again, in these matches shouldn't be a big deal. But, idealistically, you want your number one goalkeeper, right? You don't, especially Raya's on such amazing form. You want that, don't you? So it's really unfortunate that we're not sure about that. What we're also not sure about at this stage is what about Jurriën Timber and White? Neither one of them participated in the game against Bolton. At least one of them needs to be available, and Arteta did kind of like, it was like a very ominous, quote from before the Bolton game that they have to wait, on further tests for one injury that could potentially be serious. So you have Raya, who we know has like a thigh injury. You have Jurriën Timber, and then you have White. So that's not good because we tend to get multiple injuries in one position. And, it does shine a little bit of a negative light, I have to say, on guys like Tomiyasu, because if he was available, we wouldn't be having these issues. We'd just be able to play him right back, but he's not there. If Timber is, and you don't really want to be playing White or Jurriën Timber unfit, I think we did play White not fit fully against City. So it's a tough one. It really is, but we still should be able to beat Leicester with a more weakened lineup. But I'm wondering how confident you guys would be to see Nwaneri start. Was his performance against Bolton enough for you to trust him to start against Leicester, or do you think it's too soon? Because you guys know I would have started him, and I would have been starting him by now. I don't give a fuck. Like, I really don't. Like, trial by fire, get him in. The sooner that he makes the mistakes, the better. And this is a good games to make those mistakes in if you're going to make them, because these are teams that we could probably recover against. You really don't want to get into another difficult run of fixtures and then you're trying to use him because you didn't do what you needed to do. I know Marino will be back soon, but who really wants to see Rice, Marino, and Partey anyway? Don't nobody want to see that shit. You want to see a creative midfielder in there doing the Odegaardy stuff on that side. And he looked really good against Bolton. I know it's Bolton, but I just don't think that he's so far away. I really don't. I think Nwaneri is ready. So yeah. Victor says, Nwaneri, we should use him for our current run of games. Do you guys want to know what those current run of games are? Just for you guys that are like, what are you talking about? Like, what are the current run of games? Because this is what I mean. Like, I would not have started him in that tough run that we just had, like, except for I would have started him against Tottenham. Fuck them. Listen, hail in boys, they get it, but again, away at City, away against Atalanta, maybe not so much. But this next run of fixtures, we have Leicester at home. We have PSG at home. Don't necessarily have to do that one, but Southampton at home and Bournemouth away. Even Shakhtar at home. Those are before we get back into the tough shit. We have he started against Bolton. You have Leicester. Let's say you take out PSG, right? You have Leicester at home, Southampton at home, Bournemouth away, Shakhtar at home, and then you have Liverpool. You don't have to start him at home against that, but you have Preston again away. Though, like, you have at least 4 fixtures in there. You can just say, Nwaneri, do your thing. They're a little bit more low stakes, or games where if you were to be so bad, you can recover. But I mean, what is the actual likelihood of Nwaneri being ass? Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, let's be serious. Like, what is? I just don't see that being realistic, of him just being so bad. And even if he's missing or goes, flat, that's not bad. That's not the worst, So, like I said, Leicester City at home, then we have PSG at home. That's a difficult game. Maybe not that one, but Southampton at home, Bournemouth away, Shakhtar at home. Those are games I feel like he could play. I don't see why he couldn't play them games. Besides PSG and Liverpool, he could play against Preston too, and then this is where it gets difficult again, so run it. run it. Let's go. Let's go. Because like Ilmatic is saying, Marino possible return date on website is mid to late October as well. And so, you think about that too, not knowing how long it's going to take for Odegaard. Wouldn't you rather run the midfield as close to what you wanted to get to? Because I do think, and this is unpopular, but I do think that had Marino had been fit against Brighton, which he was not because he got injured in his first training session, that our midfield is going to be Rice, Marino, and Odegaard. So what's the closest to Rice, Marino, and Odegaard? Rice, Marino, and Nwaneri. I'd rather us get closer to that than keep piecemealing bullshit together, because I'm sorry, I don't want to see Marino, Rice, and Partey. I just feel like that's rank. It is okay, but it's a little rank. Let's be honest. You got to get somebody in there that has a little bit more flair, So, yeah, Marino coming back in will be great. But in the meantime, this is Nwaneri's time. Like, I don't really think it's that deep. It's not away at City. It's not away at Spurs. It's not those ones, and there are young players across Europe, whether it's in the Bundesliga or in La Liga or even in the Premier League, that are playing games they're playing games for their club team in Europe as well as in the league. One 17-year-old in the starting 11 is not going to capitulate the whole thing. So I don't see why it'd be an issue. Samuel says no, his Bolton game his Bolton game wasn't enough, but I will definitely want to play him after 70 minutes. Why can't he start? I don't get it. Jordan says Ethan should have started in CL against Nice when it was a dead game. And this is like, well, we need to get him in easier matches. Every game for us is high stakes. You guys do realize this. Like, there's not going to be a lot of dead rubbery type games where they're not going to matter, So even Leicester away has a certain level of jeopardy to it because these are bankers that we should be winning. So this whole idea that we're going to have like this perfect game that doesn't matter, that happened in preseason. So I'm a little like, why can't he just start? I honestly don't see why our starting 11 cannot absorb a 17-year-old and whatever little glitches he's going to have, because I'll be honest with you, I don't think a inexperienced Nwaneri is that much worse than a Kai in midfield or a Trossard in midfield, because neither one of them are good in midfield. We got away with them playing in midfield, but neither one of them are good in midfield. Their performances are nothing to write home about. They're not anything near or like Odegaard. They're not creative, either one of them, really. I think Trossard has done the best, but it's a Band-Aid and the wound is bleeding. Like, I don't necessarily feel like it makes sense to continue on giving players minutes in positions where the minute that we have players come back, they'll never play those positions again, where you could actually give, like, it's twofold. It's Nwaneri is probably our best option to replace Odegaard, but equally, this is a really good opportunity to make him a usable member of the squad and give him that experience that he would need for you guys to trust him in more difficult matches. Giving these minutes to Trossard is a waste. It is. Clement says, the club is at fault for not addressing the positions of need in the summer window. Are they that naive that you didn't think injuries will happen this season? Listen, I said you made your bed, now lie in it. Nwaneri's now a key member of the squad, and so now you have to use him. Graham says there was no chance of blooding Nwaneri away at Villa, Spuds, and Man City. He should now be given opportunities at home to Leicester and Southampton. We will have the majority of the ball. Shamaria says it's literally the almost perfect game to integrate him. Yeah, I'm still trying to understand where we've had Trossard have stinkers and Havertz have stinkers in midfield, and we've still won those games. So even if Nwaneri was to have a stinker, which he's probably not going to, what is that like? I'm still trying to understand how we collapse having him in the team. Because I don't really want to see another Jorginho, Partey, Rice midfield. We don't need that at home against Leicester. Like, it's not that deep. Boy says we are behind schedule on Nwaneri's development because of opportunities not taken last season. Samuel says no, his Bolton game wasn't enough to start him on Saturday, but I will definitely want to play him after the 70th minute. Shamara says he won't be worse than Trossard Havertz in the 10. He won't. They're genuinely not good in the 10. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, genuinely, I think Trossard was okay against Spurs, but it was still not good. Let's be honest, So I'm trying to understand why we would force something that is not even really working anyway in some sort of crusade to protect a kid that's clearly ready to start against lower level Premier League opposition. Shamaria says that's haram ball right there. And Marino Rice Partey is pure terrorism. I don't like that. Khalifa says, when is Odegaard returning? Who knows? Shamaria says, I think Arteta will start him on Saturday. I don't see why he wouldn't. Yo-Yo says Arteta has given kids minutes in Spurs and City away. They'll get more minutes. It's inevitable. And that's a good way to think of it. If he was willing to give them minutes against Spurs and City away, then why would he be afraid to give them good minutes against Leicester, Southampton? Ivy says, I like how brutal you are about Trossard playing that role. It doesn't work. Like, I love Trossard down. You guys know I love Trossard so much, but he's not a midfielder. And neither is Kai Havertz. And yes, somebody's gonna be like, but he played there for Leverkusen. But Trossard, he played there for, I don't care. In the way that we play, our midfield is so specific that Fabio Vieira couldn't play in that midfield, that Emil Smith-Rowe couldn't play in that midfield. So now you got Havertz and Trossard, and people are like, yeah, that makes sense. No, it doesn't. It smelled. It was not good. Our defense is so good that we're able to absorb a awkward midfield situation. And we've pretty much been doing that since last season, where our midfield hasn't really been good enough, but our defense is good enough where it kind of absorbs it. And we can paper over that crack. You got a player that's just ready. If you give him those minutes, it's not PSG. You don't have to start him against PSG. It's Leicester. And this is Arsenal Football Club. This has been the fabric of this club. Good enough. If you're good enough, you're old enough. And trial by fire. When players get injured, you put them in, sink or swim. Either you're good enough or you're not. And Nwaneri, pretty sure he's good enough to play with the starters. We're talking about potentially, let's just say one of White, Jury, and Timber is fit. You have Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and Calafiori. You have Rice and Partey, and you have Havertz, Saka, and Martinelli. Nwaneri can't play in that team. We can't absorb that. Come on now. And what if he actually does well? What if the opposite of the coin happens? What if he doesn't make that big mistake that people are afraid of? What if he does end up accelerating his development? What if the positive thing happens? Why is it always, oh my gosh, but if he makes a mistake and he plays poorly, he's just going to crumble into a million pieces, Errol says, just what will be your midfield then? So let's go ahead and get into it. Make sure you guys are smashing the likes. Let's go ahead and get into this. Let's see if there's another way that I can do this where it can be a little bit bigger so you guys can see it better. Yeah, that's probably a little bit better. Yeah. So yeah, you guys go ahead and get your ideas in there as well about who you'd like to see starting in these positions against Leicester. But yeah. Let's take this. Yeah, let's do it like that because we don't need to do numbers, do we? So I'm praying that Raya's fit, but if not, it's Neto. We should be able to survive. Let's just put in the people that we know are going to be there. How good was Calafiori yesterday as well? He's a little on the wild side, but I kind of like that, I'm pretty sure Partey will play. And I'm pretty sure Rice will play. Saka. Oh, well, I guess we have to leave that shit blank. Yeah, the rest of this is, we can look at it. But, okay, so best case scenario is one of Timber and or White is fit enough to play in this game against Leicester. If they're not, what are we doing? Because if y'all are scared to play Nwaneri against Leicester, I know you're scared to play Nichols. You know? No Tommy. Again, this is injury-prone players are always going to hurt your game. Always, because you're inevitably going to need them and they won't be there, even if they're not playing. Because Tommy wouldn't even been playing in this period, but he's still not available. So all this like, well, if they're not playing all the time, they'll just magically be fit. No, they won't, because they'll get injured in training. They'll get injured on international duty. Injury-prone players, you always have to have an eject seat button. At some stage, you have to just say goodbye. And we're getting to that point with Tomiyasu. He's a really good player, but this whole idea that he's not going to play as much, so he's not going to be injured. This is the best example of why that theory doesn't work. So no Tommy, potentially no Timber, and no White. Guys, genuinely, what do we do if neither one of them are ready to go? And do you think that do you think that Timber is the one with the worser injury? What do you guys think? Because I'm interested to know what you guys think about that. I'm just going to, because White played on an already injured, like he was already kind of injured. Maybe they're just fully resting Timber. I don't know. I need Timber to be fit though, because I thought, honestly, I want to see more of this back line. I think this is our best back line. And that's no shade to White, but I just feel like Timber is a better footballer. And with time, he will be better in that position than White, if he isn't already. So I'm going to hope that Timber is fit. But if not, it'll be White. And if not, I have no fucking clue. I have no fucking clue what we're going to do. Because, imagine if we do the unthinkable and drop Partey back there like we did before. Holy shit. I will not be there. I will not be there. Let's go to left wing. How did you guys feel about Sterling's performance? Is he somebody that you think is he somebody that you think is ready to start? I think Arteta said that his fitness level may not be there. What do you guys think? Because I think eventually he could take Martinelli's spot. I don't see Martinelli's spot being untakeable. I really don't. Especially if he continues not to score goals. I know he got the assist for Calafiori, but I think Martinelli will maintain his spot because he didn't start against Bolton, but I wouldn't be surprised if halfway through the season, Sterling is starting in that position if Martinelli is still not scoring goals. So he'll probably stay here. Calafiori does help Martinelli because you have a natural left footer on that side that's not afraid to make that pass. But Rice, Martinelli, and Havertz is just not – it's not a good combo. None of those players, if that's what it ends up being, work together. They don't connect. They don't pass it to each other. They make the same runs. It's just not – it's not good. But Calafiori at least helps because I just think two right footers on that side just makes it almost like impossible for Martinelli to function, So, yeah, Calafiori helps for sure. Let's see. Samuel says, yes, he can start games after 65. Ali says, are we sure Timber is fine? We're not sure. And this is why I said I'm hoping that it's Timber that's fit, because White was already carrying something and played against City even though he was not fully fit. So if White was the injured one, I'd be like, okay, I just feel like if it's Timber, it's a little bit more, I don't know. This is going to sound bad, but I want to see Timber play. So if White had to sit for a little bit, I think I'd be a little bit more okay with it. But Timber coming out, White coming back in, especially on a bum knee, doesn't help, So I'm hoping that Timbers was more of like a tired because I'm starting to get back up to speed. But if it's not Timber, hopefully it is White, that's available. If neither one are fit, then I don't know what we're going to do, because we genuinely don't have another right back, and Nichols is not on the same level as Nwaneri, and he's also in the back line. So, yeah. Clement says Neto, Timber, Gabriel, Saliba, Calafiori, Rice, Partey, Rice, Nwaneri, Sterling, Saka, Havertz. Edu says suddenly Timber is better than White. How many of you guys think that White is better than Timber? I don't know what it is about the fan base in this whole well, there's just no way that Timber could be better than White, when Timber is a better footballer, I think. And I don't know if that's really something that's that big of a deal, So, yeah, it's weird. I feel like that's a normal thing, but, yeah, I think the idea that White is better than Timber right now is not necessarily, he's not better. He's just played in that position longer, so he has better relationships and chemistry with the players on that side. But actually, when you think about it, Timbers had more standout games this season than White. It wasn't even just me that said it. One of the commentators, I think it was for the Man City game, actually said that White has started off the season poorly. So I think from the outside looking in, White's not playing well. From inside the Arsenal fan base, I think I've heard multiple people say that they don't think White has started off the season well. But we've all kind of spoken about how good Timber has been so far this season. So really the only thing that White has over Timber right now is chemistry with the players on that right-hand side. But that could be easily, that could easily go away with Timber playing 3 or 4 games there consistently. So I don't know if White is better than Timber right now actually even holds anything, considering Timber has started the season better than White anyway. White has been one of our, to me, he's been one of our poorer performers so far this season. He's literally not done anything this season of note. George or Jorge, I'm not sure, says Timber is better than both Calafiori and Ben. AJ says Timber might be better against tricky wingers, but White clears and attacking. Does he? That's interesting, because me and my friend were talking about this, and I actually think that Timber in a run of games will actually be better in the final third than Ben. I think Ben is really careless with his crosses at times, but let's see. Lionite says the new fullback pairing is Timber and Calafiori. Halftime Hook says, let's not forget White was the best right back last season. Yeah, that was last season though. Halftime says form is temporary, class is permanent. BroPro says, but 1v1 defending, I think Timber is better. Ivy says Arteta does that thing where he gets Raya for Ramsdale, Kala for Zinni, and for right back, it'll be Timber. Boy says Timber is a fullback at the club right now. Lionite says White will come good when Odegaard is back. I feel like players that can only be unlocked by other players being in the team, meaning they can only play at a good standard. You should be able to play at a good standard with other players, but maybe some players bring you up to your best. I think White is well below his level at this point. And so I don't know if Odegaard is going to unlock you, but I tend to like players that can play their game, whether so-and-so is on the pitch. I don't think White is suffering because Odegaard is not playing. He actually played with Odegaard multiple times and still had poor games. I just don't think he's come into the season fresh. And I've always felt that Timber is a better footballer than White anyway, and I've always thought that he would eventually take that starting position. So, that's just me, but I also wasn't on the front line saying White was the best right back in the league last season. So it's not my battle to fight. I'm not needing to defend that position. So yeah, I get if that was your story last season that he was the best, that you can't have Timber walk in and take his position, because then it would be like, whoa, but I think if we're honest, White has not really started the season well. Maybe it's because he's been carrying a little bit of an injury, but Timber actually has started the season better. Samuel says Kivior will start if Ben or White are not fit. Halftime says Timber is definitely better in build-up than Ben. Let's see. YouTube user says, I wouldn't be surprised if Timber eventually overtakes White. Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, to be honest, like, I don't think mean, and this is a personal opinion of mine. So, you know, opinions are just what they are. Like, they're not set in stone in any way. But, you know, I just feel like one is more of a natural, is going to be more natural in that position. White is a very, very good player. And we've gotten to a point where to upgrade upon certain players like Tommy and White, you would have to really bring in top quality, which we have. Calafiori and Timber, to me, are better than White and Tommy. So um I think when you have those options, these are first world problems. That doesn't mean that White will never be used again. It doesn't mean White is shit. Doesn't mean anything, but White has clear gaps in his game. I think both defending and going forward. And I think he's left a little gap for Timber to kind of wiggle his way into that position. But if Timber's not fit, then maybe that door closes. So yeah, for me, it's not that deep. If Nwaneri ended up, being better than Odegaard, I would be happy for that because, even though Odegaard is my favorite player, I want Arsenal to have the best players ever. And so, it is what it is. At the end of the day, some players are just, if Martinelli gets anywhere near his level of form, Trossard drops out, and I would prefer Martinelli to start. So it's not about like favorites or anything like that or needing to defend my position on certain players. I just do think that Timber is a better footballer than Ben. Shamari says Timber is coming off an ACL injury. It's already showing a bit more than White. Jorge says we have a midweek game, PSG. We need Timber for that game. Rest Timber if we can. That's a really good point. The PSG game maybe is one that, again, if we want our better defensive players 1v1 in the channels, Timber is better than White at that. So maybe if White is fit, then he can play, he can play that game. So I actually think that's a really good point. And so hopefully he's fit. And then we just go with this and just rest Timber because, yeah, against the trickier wingers, I'd rather Timber be there. Diehard Gunner says Timber was bought to replace White. White was supposed to be a center half. He switches off all the time. Ben needs to sharpen up or he'll easily lose his spot. I also think he switched off for the short corner against Man City, if I'm honest. So, which ended up being why we drew the game. So, yeah, I think Ben just hasn't started off this season well enough for his position to be solidified when you have a player like Timber's quality in the team. When we had Callum Chambers and guys like that, then yeah, it was like, of course. But it wasn't too long ago where Tomiyasu played well for a couple of games and, people were talking about Tommy taking White's position. Like his position is mostly solidified, I feel like, because nobody of a certain level can get up a level of consistency long enough. But if Timber were able to do that, I think he would take that spot. Halftime says Timber is definitely better in build-up. I think I already read that one. Timber can nutmeg people. Bro Pro says better footballer. Yeah, maybe, but White is more dynamic in his run. I don't even think we've seen enough of Timber to make any sort of, definitive statements about what he can do going forward on that side. He was playing on the left, and I felt like some of the things that he was doing going forward were something that I've never seen White ever do, like take a man on and, take a decent shot, things like that. So I would love to see a run of games with Timber in that position and see how he gels with Saka. We just haven't seen enough of it, but yeah, I think most of the time the better footballer usually prevails because talent is the most important thing. And so it'd be very rare that you see a less talented player keep that position if the more talented player ends up having a good run of form. So, um, but yeah, I like that back line. I think we could stick with that. Now, midfield, um, are you guys dropping Havertz in there? Are you guys gonna run Jorginho, Partey, Rice, against Leicester? I think honestly, like that is just like at home, we don't need to do that. We don't need to bunker in. And that midfield is ass. It doesn't have 3 DMs. It's ass. It's something that we had to do. We didn't even actually really do that. We did Havertz or Trossard with Jorginho and Partey, and it was terrible in terms of being able to control the game. We weren't down a man, couldn't pass the ball to each other. We're really poor technically. We had no composure. We couldn't even do the basics. With that midfield, then against City, we ran Partey, Rice, and Trossard. Uh, that's a hard one because we didn't really get to see what it could really do. Personally, I don't think Rice and Partey have a very good chemistry at all. In the beginning of the season, I could count on one feet, like on one hand, how many times they pass the ball to each other, and they just have like no chemistry whatsoever. But I think Arteta will just naturally go with that because Partey was rested clearly against Bolton, and Rice is really the only left center mid that we have available right now. So Rice will play. Um, and then you have this additional position. Based on, Jesus played all 90 minutes. I think almost all 90 minutes. He may have played all 90 minutes or close to it against Bolton. I feel like that would mean that he's probably not going to start against Leicester, but he could. He didn't really do anything in that game that I feel like warrants a starting position or makes it so that I feel comfy with him playing center forward and Havertz being moved out of that position. Right now he couldn't score to save his life, So I think I'd still rather keep Havertz up front. It still has issues, Havertz up front, with Martinelli on the left because they have basically what ends up happening is Rice ends up being a second striker for some reason. And Martinelli and Rice trying to create those triangles just is like watching a train crash. Like it's insanely bad. But, Havertz, at least if we get it into the box, is more likely to score than Jesus and has a very good relationship with Saka that's already growing. So we should keep that going. Saka and Havertz so far this season have been a lot. They've been so connected that you don't want to break apart that chemistry. Whereas Jesus has no chemistry with anybody right now, so starting him would feel like going backwards, which leaves pretty much this only position. And I feel like, we could play Trossard there. I feel like Arteta will play Trossard there and we'll maybe go with this instead, which is the midfield that we ran against. It's the midfield that we ran against Tottenham, but it's also when we brought Trossard in, I think against Atalanta and Rice dropped deeper, we looked better. This is not what I would do, but if you're going to go with Trossard, then at least Trossard can play that ball into the channel to Martinelli, and Calafiori is left-footed, so it gives you a little bit more of that chemistry on that side for Martinelli to thrive. This is not what I would do. I would just play Nwaneri and just call it a day. But this is what I think Arteta is going to do. I think this is dead on what Arteta is going to do. What I would do instead is I'm tired. I'm just tired. Even just doing this, I don't give a fuck. I just want to see an actual midfielder in this position so he can get near Martinelli. He would know not to get in Martinelli's way. So many times I see Rice and Martinelli making the same runs into this channel. I see Rice hanging out here, which I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like Rice will do this thing where, and I'm like, this is no shade to Rice. I love him down. But Martinelli will be here and Rice will dribble up here. Martinelli will be trying to make that run and he'll turn around and pass it backwards. It just doesn't work. So maybe if you drop Rice onto the right-hand side and maybe that, is better for Saka, Rice, and White. Maybe they can do something on this side. Rice is in a position where he doesn't have to think about getting it off of his left and putting it onto his right. Nwaneri being a more natural midfielder and also left-footed, maybe that will help on this side. I don't know. This is what I would do. Trossard, 10 position, doesn't work for me. And so, yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I know Arteta is going to play Trossard and it's going to burn me up. But I think the keys to this is not having Jesus in the 11. And trying to get as balanced of a midfield as you could possibly get. So, yeah. BroPro says we must factor in how high out of possession work means for Arteta. Christopher says yes, Nwaneri, the kid is a gem. Boy says Nwaneri should be starting. Simple as don't care who is around him. Lionite says you can't play Rice as a left 8. He refuses to play the ball forward. I don't know if it's he refuses to play the ball forward. I feel like what people do is like they use very like he doesn't refuse to play the ball forward. I feel like the problem is that when you're not a natural left footer, when you get into those positions where the ball is on your left, and then once you get it onto your right, the angle is closed and the moment has passed. Martinelli's no longer making that run. So usually the only option that you have is to play backwards. So it's not that he refuses to play the ball forward. Maybe if he played on the right, he could play it forward a little bit quicker because when he's receiving the ball, the options are natural to him to play it in between the center back and the fullback to Saka, But I think right now, because you don't have your natural players in those positions, just play Rice on the right or let him exist on the right. He actually played more on the right-hand side against City, funny enough, and play Nwaneri on the left. So, because he's left-footed, and then you get that natural left-footedness for Martinelli. He can make those runs into the channel, and both Nwaneri and Calafiori can find that ball either down the line or in between the center back and the fullback, which you have to be able to find those passes for Martinelli to succeed. The pass that Miles Lewis-Skelly played into Sterling yesterday is a pass that we haven't seen all season because we haven't had a left-footed player on that side. And that's why I didn't want Timber playing there. It's not because I think Timber is a bad player. I love him down. I think he's fabulous. But no right-footed player can find that pass quickly, So I think this, to me, makes the most sense. If you do anything, it'll be Trossard moved into that position, but I just still feel like it doesn't work. So just do this. What do you guys think? What y'all think? Boy says Rice doesn't have the vision for that left center mid at the Premier League level. And Arteta plays with inverted midfielders. Left center mid must be right-footed. Right center mid must be left-footed. That's his vision. It doesn't work with the players that you have now because you don't have Odegaard to paper over the cracks of it, to paper over the fact that the midfield doesn't have any composition or like it doesn't have any chemistry. You cannot do it like that. I feel like you have to get players in more comfortable positions so that they can execute versus forcing things that just don't work. Even one thing that I don't like about when Rice plays left center mid, like if this is Jorginho, if this is like, let's just put Georgie. If this is Georgie and let's say you move Rice over here and Nwaneri here, one thing I really don't like is when Rice plays with Georgie, he drops in here. He plays more in this position, which allows him to drop in near Georgie and make it easier. But he also does this. He drops into this side, he drops into that side, and he kind of moves in these spaces a little bit better, which suits him a lot more. What I don't like is when he plays with Partey, he plays here. and leaves Partey on an island by himself. So basically, all the other team has to do is pass like one straight line pass from here down to here, and boom, you're past everybody, and Partey is scrambling. I hate the positioning of Rice with Partey. I feel like just even a simple modification of Rice dropping in into a double pivot, even if this is with Partey, and just playing this player more like a natural number 10 just suits us so much better. But for some reason with Jorginho, he drops Rice in. With Partey, he does not. I don't know if he's like Partey is more physical, but he's just not. Like both Jorginho and Partey are like the same physical level at this stage. If we're going to play like this, just drop Rice in so that he can basically Partey can play here and Rice can run around from here to here. He can support right here, but also drop into Partey. He can support right here, but drop into Partey. But when he's up here, all it takes is a couple simple passes. You're beyond Rice. Rice can't catch up, and Partey is by itself. And that does not fucking work. So even just that simple modification to me would be better. But Partey plus Rice equals Rice second striker. Sometimes he's beyond Martinelli, and it's ick. It makes me gag. Like it's just not it. Bropro says that's the lineup Arteta will start. Halftime Hook says I like the team aside from Martinelli left wing. You guys know Martinelli's going to start though. So, and I'm kind of like okay with it because I know that you have like if you started like this, you would have Trossard and Sterling, which you have the opportunity to take them off and do something different. IP says you're spot on. We are missing line breaking passes, and yes, we need players in their right roles. Like at the bare minimum, even if like we know Rice's his limitations on the ball. We know that he has limitations on the ball, but what you also get with Rice in this position is you can have your pressing back. So Rice is a really good presser, which we kind of lose a little bit when you don't have him on this side because we usually start our press somewhere over here. I think Rice on this side would just naturally be better. He can press more naturally like Odegaard, but equally when he receives the ball in this position, the angles are just so much easier for him to play those balls into these areas. Or when he's over here, it's like he receives it over here, but he cannot play this ball into this channel. He just can't because he can't open it up to the left. He just cannot open it up. So just doing this might just help just until Odegaard gets back, and we have Marino. Because once Marino is here and Odegaard is here, even though they're both left-footed, it'll be fine. Because like even when Xhaka was on that side, we had two left-footers and nobody complained. It's right now, like you just need to get players in positions where they can open their body up naturally. In my opinion, I see what you guys are saying. Boy says, should Arteta consider starting MLS at left center mid or DM? He's very composed, that lad. I think if we get even just one, we'd be lucky. But MLS also looked like he got a little bit of a knock. So probably not. But, I wouldn't mind seeing more of MLS. I think he's fine, and I mean, I was kind of hoping that, like, let's say, like, if Tommy had been fit yesterday, if Tommy had been fit, what you could have done was play. Let's just go back to that game. You could have done like this instead. And I would have loved to have seen it yesterday, to be honest, if Tommy had been able to play here instead. Because you could have covered that position and then MLS could have played here with Nwaneri and Rice. But we didn't have that option because you are not fit. So yeah, MLS, hopefully he doesn't have too bad of an injury. But I would imagine that if we even got Nwaneri, I'd be very, very, very surprised. But I would love to see it because he's a natural midfielder. And I feel like I prefer going with players that naturally play in that position despite their inexperience than moving Havertz into midfield, who's not a natural midfielder in this system, or Trossard, because it doesn't work. It's clunky. and it just gives me the ick. Coffee says, should Saka and Martinelli switch so they can take on players better? I mean, you could, like, I actually don't mind if they start in the positions that they're at, but I feel like we've lost recipes, over the last 2 seasons where Martinelli, you would see, like, in past seasons, Martinelli and Saka would switch positions at times, like, when it suited us. I think they can start in the positions that they're at and just swap positions sometimes throughout the game. I feel like that could give them a different look and also confuse the opposition. We just don't do it. They don't even get close together anymore. Martinelli and Saka used to assist each other quite often. They don't anymore because they're on completely different planets. And they're now setting up the midfielders instead of setting up each other. So I don't even need them to really necessarily switch positions for the entirety of the game. I would just like for them to have more fluidity throughout the game. Pixel says just out. Can't take me out on my own channel. So yeah, Shamaria says Tommy will be fit for the international break, but get injured whilst playing for Japan. He doesn't even get injured playing for Japan. He plays all the games for Japan and then just arrives injured with us. It's like insane. Like at this stage, it's really frustrating, not because we're bare bones back there, but because it limits some of the things that we can do. And yeah, it's frustrating because it happens all the time. Let's see. Blue Ocean Stay says, I'm White fan, so I don't want to see in the bench. Please do not make Ramsdale and Yaya case. He is not bench player if you not use sell or borrow. I don't know what this means. I'm a White fan, so I don't want to see in the bench. Please do not make Ramsdale and Raya thing. He is not a bench player. I think you're thinking of it the wrong way. I think Timber playing on the right and sometimes starting over White does not mean that White is just a bench player. I think we're very, very uncomfortable with competition for places. If we like a player, we don't even want there to be somebody else available to play there just to keep them safe in their position. I think White needs competition. I think everybody needs competition for their position. And it's not a Ramsdale Raya situation. It really isn't. I don't think we'll have to sell White if he's not starting. He's not I don't know what he's not that good where he is so good that he cannot be not a starter for Arsenal. Like if we were benching Saka, I could see Saka leaving tomorrow because he's so good that he can't just be sitting on Arsenal's bench. But White's not that guy. So I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I do find that if you like a player, you don't even want there to be anybody in their position that could potentially take it because you want them safe. If you rate a player and you think he's that good, then you wouldn't mind there being somebody else there because you would back your player to keep their position. Like, I don't care. I didn't care when Fabio was there. I'm like, he's never going to take Odegaard's position. I don't care that Nwaneri's there. I still feel like Odegaard is going to play in that position. And if for some reason one of them were to take his position, that's great because then that means that we've gotten better. Because having somebody that's better than Odegaard means that we have probably a top 5 midfielder in the league, or in the world, So I think you're thinking of it the wrong way. White is always going to play a significant amount of games. Like he's never Arteta loves him down. But there's a reason why we bought Timber and it wasn't to play left back. Because if we were bought Timber to play left back, then we wouldn't have bought Calafiori. So, Boy says Nwaneri is going to force Partey out of the team. Pew, pew, pew says Arteta loves White. He will play White as much as he can. Chris says, why are we afraid of rotation as a fan base? Even not even just rotation, competition. Competition. I don't even want Timber to play in that position. It's just not that deep. Bro Pro says, I think Jess I need to see it with Timber at right back. I cannot say he is clear of White in all aspects. And I think that makes sense because, I'm saying that I don't think you have to see more of Timber and he'll eventually I'm projecting too that he will be better than White in it attacking wise, but he hasn't necessarily showed it. I think He's been better than White overall this season in terms of his performances, but in terms of what both of them have done at right back, it's not really comparable because Timber hasn't played there. So I'm projecting that Timber will be better there. But you're right. We have to see it. And so it's fine. Like, it's not that deep. Boy says we still need to find competition for Saka. So, yeah, but this is what I would probably. Oh, I have 2 Rices there. That's funny. I wish, man. So this is what I would probably do against Leicester. Prioritize relationships, prioritize balance, prioritize players in form as well. And I think you could carry maybe one player that's out of form, like Martinelli. You can't carry multiple. So no Jesus. And then if Martinelli by the 60th minute is looking like he's not going to score a goal, you can bring in one of Sterling or Trossard to because then you also have a strong bench too, so that could be nice. But yeah, this to me would be our most balanced and probably the closest to what Arteta would do, barring probably putting Trossard here instead of Nwaneri. Boy says, should we clone Odegaard and Saka? No, you can't. But, Odegaard and Saka have limitations to their game as well, that if we brought in other players that do what they can't do and at a high level, we'd be a much better team. Odegaard has limits to his game. I think that, there's things that he just cannot and does not do. So, yeah, I feel like filling in the gaps in which they leave and making sure those players are also on the same level as Odegaard and Saka would make us a much better team. I think we need another midfielder in the attacking sense that can offer things that Odegaard cannot, but it can also still play at his level. Does that make sense? You can have different characteristics, but be on a similar level. Like ESR and Odegaard have different characteristics, and some of those characteristics that ESR has, Odegaard will never have, but ESR and Odegaard are on the same level. I think bringing in a player of a certain level in attacking mid, and also, and this is also keeping in mind that we have Nwaneri. I think we could still bring in somebody too, and then Saka. What does he not possess? Is probably that blistering speed. Is probably something that you could have on that other side, but they also have to be on the level. They can't just be a chicken with their head cut off, Pew 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 says Trossard would start in midfield. Nwaneri will likely come in as a sub for Trossard. Sterling will be subbed in for Martinelli. Boy says I would take 3 Timbers and Saliba for the back line, to be honest. Bro Pro says Nwaneri ball, I would not complain. And listen, if we started off with like this, which this is what I think what we will look like, barring maybe Neto starting for Raya. If Nwaneri comes in a little bit later, that would be cool. Excuse me. And if Sterling came on, that would be cool too. But, this to me is a Band-Aid, but it is Leicester. We should still win, Shamaria says, Jess, do you think Elise is better than Saka right now? I don't. That's an interesting question. I asked a friend, to rank Saka, Lamine Yamal, and Elise. And I still feel like Saka to me is the best, but I do think that they play in leagues where if Saka played in those leagues, he would clean up too. I think the Bundesliga is crazy bad, so I have to keep that in mind. But do I think that the gap is big? No, I think both of those players are right there with Saka. Saka just has longer time of consistency, that just can't be erased because you've been good for the last 8-9 months, so yeah, I think, but I do think that the way that we play and the way that our attack disappears for certain amounts of the season, I do think will hurt Saka's claim to being, top 3 right winger in the world, because those players are going to rack up more GA than Saka because our attack starts and stops. It peters out. Sometimes it's really, really good, and then other times we can't hit a barn door. So, but I think Saka's hit the qualities that he has that make him so good are not valued within the footballing community because it doesn't move them. So there are a lot of people that will feel that Lamine Yamal and Olise are clear of Saka, and I'm kind of okay with that. I don't care. But the things that Saka has are not valued in football. They don't care about IQ. They don't care about consistency. They don't care about, they just care about step overs, and that's just it. But yeah. Bro Pro says, I love watching Olise play. Same. I think he's great. Lionide says Olise has periods with muscular injuries. And Blue Ocean says, sorry for my comments. Players have competition in other places, which is good. We love Arsenal. You don't have to be sorry for your comments. I just slightly disagree on the way that you were thinking about it. I don't think Ben is a type of player where, you just can't afford to drop him because then he's just going to leave the next summer. But competition is important. And like somebody else was saying, is I think it was Bro Pro, they need to see Timber perform in this position for a significant amount of time before they can say that he's better than White. I think that that's a very fair point. I'm projecting, because we haven't really seen it, but my gut is telling me that he's gonna do it. So yeah, but all those players, Lamine Yamal, Saka, and Olise are all really great right wingers, and they're all actually Olise and Lamine Yamal are quite similar. Actually, I think, and Saka is different to them, but I think that they're all like at a very high level. So it's gonna be fun watching them, especially because they all play for top level national teams too. So we'll see them compete for years to come, which is nice. So this is the team I would go with. I'm liking this team. And then you still have the bench to come on. Hopefully, Raya is between the sticks, or I will be very I will be devastated because he's playing so well, and like goalkeepers getting injuries is just like so weird. But if it is Neto, I guess we'll see him for the first time. I'm not really necessarily worried about it, but that was like I always forget that we even got him this summer. It's so funny because we did so much goalkeeper restructuring this summer only to have to play a 16-year-old yesterday, which is just freaking hilarious to me. My friend is acting up. So yeah. But yeah, let's put this down. What is your score prediction for Leicester? You guys let me know in the comments or in the chat. I would love to know what your score predictions are. My score prediction is actually 2-0. I think we'll be dominant, but we won't score as many goals as we probably should. So yeah, let me know what your guys' score predictions are. And I'll let you guys get those in. Ooh, MLS club. LAFC has acquired a small stake in NWSL's Angel City. Ah. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Shamaria says 3-1 Arsenal. Pew 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 says 4-0. Bro Pro says 4-1. Cheeky Vardy, he did it again. Fair. Chris Frazier says 4-1. The boy says 2-0. Shamaria says, I'm sorry, but I just see a Vardy goal. Fair enough. Yeah. Nocturnal Gunner. Ooh. What you doing in here? 2-0 or 3-0. Kofi says 2-0 to the Arsenal, and Clement says 3-1 to the Arsenal. So yeah. We all are thinking it's going to be a win, and it needs to be because there's no point in beating Spurs and beating Aston Villa if you're going to turn around and lose to Leicester, drop points. So yeah, one more time, you guys, just for the people that have just joined and you're like, what about the giveaway? I will share my screen one more time and show you guys what you need to do. All the information is also in the description box, just in case you're wondering. But yeah. Oh, there's Miguel. Let's see. So here's the tweet that has all the information. You will win 2 tickets to Arsenal versus Leicester City this Saturday, the 28th at 3 p.m. That's the time of the game. The tickets are courtesy of Comavi Official, which is the official e-commerce marketplace that is partnered with Arsenal. The announcement was today, and I am partnering with them to do a shit ton of giveaways for this season so that you guys can win free tickets, merch, and memorabilia. All you have to do to enter is follow Jessica Black TV and at She Knows Arsenal on X, as well as Comavi Official on X, and repost this tweet. A link to this tweet is in the description box. And the rules are that it's only open to residents of the United Kingdom and Ireland, and the participants have to be 18 years and older to enter. And the giveaway will close tomorrow at 8 a.m. British Standard Time. And the winner will be drawn shortly after. So you will know right away whether you won or not. But if you don't win, don't worry. There'll be so many more opportunities for this because I'm going to do one basically like at least once a month. So do not worry. And like I said, all that information is in the description box for you guys. But yeah, I really enjoyed the show. Nice and chill, relaxed. And we go into the weekend, hopefully, looking forward to a win against Leicester. Also, the women play Leicester, which is funny that we've played the same opponent or the same club for the men and the women 2 weekends running. But hopefully, we're looking forward to Arsenal beating Leicester twice this weekend. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. If you're in the UK or Ireland, enter the giveaway. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.